Hello, sports fans. Mauricio here. Well, it's about time to add line items which will tie customers to the products they purchase. So we're going to save sales in two ways. One, all the line items for an invoice could be 100 line items. Um, and then we're going to have like an summary overall um, invoice total. So we're getting ready just to save the line items, collapsing the data from 100 line items into one row summary of the invoices is could either be wicked hard, or maybe there's some tricks we can use. So naturally I'll show you the easy way. But as we get ready to save new line items, we need to specify the product and specify the customer. It really would be nice if we had a list of products. It really would be nice if we had a list of customers. And if we added a new customer, for example, it'd be really nice if they showed up on this list automatically. And so we're going to dive into how to do that. So I suppose this is an example of where having the web page really really helps. So, and sorry if the audio is acting funny. I just turned it up, so you can turn your volume down if it's too loud. I'm not going to mess with the volume anymore. So, how do you load these drop-down lists? Also, if I want to add a new product, if I added a new category, I would like that just to show up here automatically. Now, currently these are typed in, but the trick I'm going to show you today, these could be auto-loaded with the current values. So your vendors change, then this list would pull from the database table rather than just being typed in. So I was just thinking about it. It would have been nice if I put a radio button list above this drop-down list to filter the products displayed into the categories. So if they click on health and beauty aids, it only shows those related products. If I click on electronics, it only shows those products. I guess that's a future upgrade. But you got to start somewhere. So how do we get these to load? And similarly, when we have the products, we go to the products page. That's already loaded. We didn't even click on anything. And how did that happen? So how do you preload drop-down lists or radio button lists or grid views? That's the subject of this video. Whoa. What did I do? All right, so here's the code. Yeah, so this is what you call a general procedure, not an event procedure. An event procedure occurs when an event happens. Okay, the button was clicked. So now I'm going to run this procedure between the protected sub and the end sub down there at the bottom somewhere. So this is an event procedure, but now we're going to have a general procedure which runs anytime we want it to. So just like you can execute a stored procedure anytime you want, you can run or call a procedure, a general procedure, anytime you want, not connected to any event. So why do we use these general procedures is that we can call this code from 10 different places in our website. So when you turn on this website, I want those drop-down lists to be loaded. By the way, a drop-down list is just like a radio button list, except the first item, we can put a first item that says, hey, please select one. We'll see that. So whenever they turn on the program, I want to run this general procedure. Whenever a new customer is added, I want to refresh those drop-down lists so I can sell them something, etc. And so we would run that procedure. So you can call this procedure from many different places. What's the alternative? Typing out all this code and copying and pasting it into 6 places in your website. Not only is that very verbose, but what if you needed to change something? Are you really going to go change 6 places? No, you're going to change 4 places and forget about the other 2, and now your website doesn't work as good as it used to. So we're going to create once and run it from many places. So this is a sub-procedure not connected to any event. Alright, so we're going to use this data adapter, and again, data adapters run select statements, select all the customers, or select all the products, sort it first by category and then by products within the category. So we're going to use data adapters when we're going to do select statements. That's our approach in this first section of the course. We might work past this, but again, you use a data adapter to fill a data table. So data table is another, well, it's one of Microsoft's arrays. So we have an array called the data table, and the G is global. So way at the top of our program is it either says partial class or maybe it says public class. It just changes and it doesn't even matter. But at the top of the screen, I like to put the data tables, and that's a global data table. So this data table, let's say GDT products, that's going to be used in this procedure and 3 other procedures. So if I make the just like a global variable to keep it running total, if I make a data table a global object, then it can change over time, and it can be used from different procedures. So that's the difference between a local variable dim and a public object or variable public shared. It can be used from many different procedures. So these data tables, by the way, this word new here, please don't forget it, because it throws a very strange error. And if you ask my help, it'll take me about 5 minutes to remember. I guess you could put it in chat though. Maybe it's a very strange error message. If you put that error message in chat, it'll probably know that you just forgot this word new. So please just be careful. And by the way, these ADO.NET objects is very often new data table, new data adapter. Well, let's see. Was it a new SQL command? Whereas when you create a variable, and a new connection here. But when you just create a variable, you don't use the word new. So that's interesting. By the way, did you notice that just like Microsoft Word, there's this double-headed arrow up here, and if you wanted to see the top maybe the name of the connection string or something, or the name of the data table, you can do a split screen, and boy, that's pretty helpful. So that's my name of my data tables, and they're global so that different procedures can access the data in them. Okay, so we have two data adapters. We're going to use them in a minute in our try-catch block, but we're going to get all the customers for the customers drop-down list, and we're going to get all the products. That's why I sorted it. So they are by category within the list and by product within the list. So maybe that would be better sorted by product name, kind of up to you. But since we are going to use this list, let's clear it out. So rows, data table.rows.clear clears out the rows before we fill it up again, and that's how you get rid of the old content before you fill it again. If you don't clear out the old rows, then you'll have doubles and duplicates, and you'll remember then to, as I have, that you have to clear the tables. So and by the way, I just put a G there, so DT data table for customers, DT data table for products. So they're data tables. The G means they're global, and that's just a nice reminder. Local objects are only available within the procedure. Global objects are available in the entire web page across many procedures. So see, this is pretty easy. Data adapter with the select statement. Use your connection. There's our select statement. By the way, it's very smart to perfect the SQL statement, select statement in SSMS before you copy it into ASP.NET. By the way, you cannot cut the SQL statement on different lines to make it look, to line it up and make it look better. That'll crash. It all has to be one long string, so let it word wrap, and don't cut it into separate don't hit enter there to put it on a separate line. Alright, so create the data adapter, clear the rows in the data table because we're going to fill them. So data adapter.fill, dun, 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 dun. What does the data adapter.fill do? The .fill fetches the data from the table and puts it in the array called the global data table. So fill the customers table and the products table, and you would use this same approach to add another or refresh the list of categories and vendors. Alright, so here's the major learning here. So there's a drop-down list on the sales page. So we'll make this sales page in another video in a minute. But DDL products, DDL customers, but that's for the new sale. So it's the DDL customers control on the new sale view. And you're going to have so many of these that you have to name them. You can't just leave it drop down list 1, drop down list 2, drop down list 3, or text box 1, text box 2, or radio button list 1, radio button list 2. So you got to name them. You got to name them. A lot of rookie coders say, no, I don't. And then they lose 3 hours sleep because something doesn't work. Well, maybe not anymore. You just put your code into chat and it'll help you find your errors. But naming things greatly helps, and you'll see I've only taught this course 50 times, so I've seen all the problems students have, and I make recommendations so that you have a more comfortable experience. All right, so this with, end with, by the way, is fantastic. So with the object, so let me give it this one down here. So with the object, then you hit enter, and it puts this end with in here. And so what it means is whatever's on this with statement here would be inserted at the front of every line with that has a dot there. So in some cases it's going to be object dot object dot object, and so rather than have very long lines of code, we can use this with end with to not have to type the same code over and over. I use it just to simplify the code a little bit, also to organize it, and I'm kind of an indenting nerd. Are you? From using SQL? You can tell a seasoned SQL coder by how much they indent. And why do you indent? It just makes you see your errors much quicker. All right, so all of these properties are for this drop-down list. So the data source is just like we did before with the filtering the categories. That grid view had a data source, so that's the data to show. So the data to show is the retrieved data set from the SQL statement that was retrieved into the array. So the array GDT products is the data source for the drop-down list. Now what fields are we going to pull? Now if you had a grid view, so down here we have a grid view. Same thing for a grid view. You have a data source. So just just display the whole table. But for a drop-down list or a radio button lists, so radio button list is the exact same procedure here, except a radio button list would not have an items.insert. It just shows, the first items, second item, third, first category, second category, third category. There is no concept of empty option in a radio button list. That's just weird. So you would never have an option in a radio button list here that's just kind of empty. It's just item 0, 1, 2, well, index 0, 1, 2, 3. This all, by the way, is covered in a paper document. It's pretty useful if you want to see all the products. So the data text field is the field that will be displayed, and the data value field is usually the primary key for that table. And so we're going to display the product name, but we're going to capture the product ID. And so this is the same thing as the text, so that so you have the text. What text should we display, and then what's the value field? So the value field is some column in the data table which has been copied into the array. Well, database table. So each of these are columns. So go get the product name and stick it in the text column, and go get the product number and stick it in the value column. So these are typed in this case, but we're moving now to pulling the text and value from a column from your database. So product name is a column from the database. So for example, we want to show the customers the full name. That's the whole story there. And then the customer ID. And so you could see full name and customer ID are columns in the table that we're going to use. And so we're moving past typing these things in, and we're just going to pull columns from the table. So Featherman, if you're going to just pull two columns from the table, why did you do select star? Because I'm lazy. Or actually, even better than that, because I'm also going to shove that data in a grid view, which means all the columns, but you certainly could change your select statement to, select this column and that column, from the table, and not all the column, not select star, not all the columns. So product name, that's a column in the table. Product ID, that's a column in the table. So define the data source, what column to display, and what column to capture the value of behind the scenes. So when they select Red Sox, it's gonna display whatever product ID that is. So we have to do this data bind. So define the table of data that the drop-down list is going to get its value from. Specify which column to display, which column to hold the number in memory behind the scenes, so that when you do some type of saving, you have access to that selected value. We always use the number. Much less problems if you update, product 6 versus update, red kimono. You may have some spelling errors or something. So data source, data text field, data value field, data bind. But then what we like to do, or what I like to do, is items.insert to, so that when you run this thing, it nicely says, hey, select a product. So why is that there? Because people often just don't click on something by accident or whatever. If they did not click specifically on a product, we would sell a red hat, because by default it pulls the first item off the list. So we don't want to pull the first item off the list, so we kind of put a prompt in there that seems to solve the problem. But we'll also use error checking to make sure that item 0 here, if item 0 was selected, well, it means nothing was selected really, and then we would just stop. So that's where that came from. And so the only thing different for the customers is that we had another column called full name, because first name, last name are in separate columns, and that doesn't seem to work. And again, these grid views, it's just the same thing. Grid view has a data source, and you have data bind. You don't have to specify any columns, because it'll just show all the columns by default. So that's a try catch, and we're gonna load those data tables with data. Now, what are we doing, or where do we call this? So now we're getting sneaky. When they click on the link button for customers, well, go fill that grid view of, products, go fill that grid view of products. And then when they click on link button 2, which is the customers, well, go fill it. And same thing with sales. When they want to make a sale, just automatically go fill those drop-down lists. And as you could see, if you're making a sale, that is a very handy, that really speeds things up. And again, that is a general procedure, not connected to any event. You just call it anytime you want. This word call is optional, but I like to use it, so I know what it is. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I hope things are going well with you. Contact me anytime for tech support. Take care.